Brock, get us started.
Well, when it came down to it, my gut told me one team, but I didn't want to believe that this would be the number one defense for me. And I did all the research I could, trying to convince it would be the number one overall team. And then I realized I trust my gut. It is Denver, and they support test. Obviously, right now we're just looking at things on paper, but it is the Denver Broncos. And what an offseason they've had off of an incredible season where they shook the NFL and caught people off guard. Re-signing nose tackle DJ Jones was a huge part of it, right? There were some bigger names that they brought in, but keeping that keystone was massive. I'm a big Talanoa Hufanga guy. Obviously, injuries got in the way with his tenure in San Francisco. That guy is a playmaker. He trains with Troy Polamalu. See ball, get ball. You have the best defensive player in the NFL in Pat Surtain. You have Nick Bonito. I know you're a big Nick Bonito guy. It's Denver for me.
Yeah, you know what? That's a great pick. It's a great way to lead this thing off. Nick Bonito is a guy that gives everybody nightmares, regardless of your technique, regardless of your mindset, because he's just so damn fast off the ball. When you've got a guy like that paired with who they have in the middle, the guys on the back end, it's no surprise that this team is the cream of the crop. And with the number 2 pick, a lot of people would expect me to go Philadelphia Eagles, but I'm going to go with the guys just up the road, just up 95 in Baltimore. And when I say just up 95, I'm from Virginia. So everybody's just a little north of where I'm at in Virginia. And the Baltimore Ravens, they stop the run. That's one thing that they are the best in the league at. When you can stop the run, you force a team to be one-dimensional. The way that they struggled last year was against the pass, Brock. And what is one thing they did to address some of those issues on the back end, bringing in Malachi Starks, pairing him with Kyle Hamilton. That back end's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Obviously, the middle of the field is patrolled by one of my favorite football players in the NFL, Roquan Smith. And you know the front seven is going to play like a bunch of dogs. That's just what they do in Baltimore. I've got them at number 2. What you got?
I love that pick. I'm upset that you took them. I was hoping you would take Philly so that I could snag Baltimore. You talk about that defensive front. How about this? Madubuike, Van Noy, and Owe combined for 22.5 sacks last year. You can't do anything with that. Kyle Van Noy, by the way.
Van Noy, there's something in the water.
Aging like wine, man. Aging like fine wine. He's been incredible. And yes, on the back end, Baltimore is so fascinating to me. And their defensive coordinator, Zach Orr, who was in his first year as a defensive coordinator a year ago, admitted this. The first half of the year, we didn't know what the heck was going on. Guys are playing different coverages. Why is Marlon Humphrey over there? Why is Nate Wiggins over there? They're playing two different. Nobody knew what the heck was going on. But Nate Wiggins got a year under his belt. Marlon Humphrey cemented at that nickel spot. Watch out for Robert Longerbeam, by the way. They got him out of Rutgers. He's definitely going to crack his way through. A DB from Rutgers is always a good pick. And Kyle Hamilton is the most versatile player in the NFL. If he's on your side, you're good. Baltimore's a good pick. Here's where I'm already rolling the dice because I have to go off of gut. I have to go off of gut, and even though the paper says one thing, my gut says Houston. Give me the Houston Texans as the next defense. Now, they traded for CJ Gardner-Johnson. Here's why this changes everything. He is a locker room tone setter. Yes, he can get a little wild. Yes, he doesn't stick around one place for too long because
you need a guy like that.
But you need a guy like that. You just need a crazy Florida dude. You know this more than anything. Just get a crazy guy from Florida.
Dude, that's great. You're a GM Houston. Now. You're a GM now, Brock.
Just draft all the crazy Florida guys. Here's the thing about CJ Gardner-Johnson. He raises everyone to his level of insanity. Yes, sometimes it gets out of hand, but that's what Houston needs. Houston's too nice, right? Like, you look at CJ Stroud, you love him. You look at Tank Dell, hope he's healing up great. You love him.
Daniil Hunter, nice guy. Will Anderson seems like a great guy.
All these nice guys, we need some Florida energy in there, and that's exactly what he's going to do. So he's coming in. How about this new linebacker room? They signed EJ Speed, one of the tackling machines, to stand behind Daniil Hunter and Will Anderson Jr., who have 23 sacks combined. Will Anderson Jr., the only bad thing about him being on the same team as CJ Stroud is people will always overlook how great he is for how young he is because CJ is phenomenal. Jalen Petrie is going to be there at the nickel. And how about Derek Stingley, who was making a case for Defensive Player of the Year before Pat Surtain finished the year so strong? I'm taking Houston, man. They are going to be phenomenal this year.
Yeah, I love that pick. I'm actually in the same way that you were pissed about my Ravens pick. I'm a little bit pissed about your Houston pick because obviously this team has a certain swag about it with their head coach and particularly the defense and the way that they play. And I know you said that they're nice guys, and we're not taking anything away from their
No, no, no.
style of play because they're attacking, they're aggressive, they have the ability to play both run and pass, but it's those edge rushers that keep people up at night. And that is the engine that makes that machine go down in Houston. I love that pick. And with this pick, I'm going to go with a team that has really never let me down if I'm going to be betting on their defense. And that's the Vic Fangio led Philadelphia Eagle defense. Now, I know that they had some pieces out the building, and that's the cost to be a boss. Oh, you know what I'm saying? That's how it happens in the National Football League. Milton Williams out the door. They have, a lot of youth and guys moving around on the back end, but you saw that come to fruition immediately with success last year with guys like Cooper DeJean stepping up. But he's going to have the opportunity to go to and fit into a role. And you're going to talk more about this as a secondary guy. He's going to have the opportunity to go play the role that he is more comfortable with in Fangio's defense. Guys like Jordan Davis are going to have to step up. You're looking at the health of a guy like Nakobe Dean at the second level. When is he going to be able to play? Well, they went and drafted Jahad Campbell to stand in there next to Zach Bond. Zach Bond, a guy who was on the line defender in New Orleans, moved off the ball in Philadelphia, was a guy who came out of literal left field and was in the Defensive Player of the Year race. And I said this a number of times on our show. If he was a more well-known guy, if that name rung more bells league-wide, like let's say a Fred Warner, his play last year would have garnered, at the very least, debate at the Defensive Player of the Year spot. I love this Eagles team. Their style of play on offense lends itself to a physical style of play on defense as well. A guy like Nolan Smith is looking to get more opportunities of rushing the passer. The Eagles, man, this is Howie Roseman's show. It's his world. We're just living in it.
We knew going into the draft, the Eagles are going to land someone that they have no business landing. And of course, it's Jahad Campbell, who will be thrown in the fire pretty early, right? We don't know the health situations of Nakobe Dean, Nolan Smith. We don't know the health situation of Jahad, actually, but it's looking like he should be good to go. Health permitting, this is far and away the most accomplished defense, obviously coming off a Super Bowl ring, obviously realizing how disruptive that defensive line was. It's all health permitting, but if they're healthy, it's going to be a disaster. You mentioned Cooper DeJean moving to safety. The only hesitance I have is it's out of necessity, not necessarily because they want him to. And I don't know what that cornerback depth looks like, but I know that whoever they put out there, they're being coached by Vic Fangio. They're going to be fine. So even if there's some growing pains early on, it's the Eagles. They're going to figure it out, and they're going to get healthy at the right time down the stretch when it matters most. And that is what matters. This next pick, I'm going as much for the defensive coordinator as I am with the players. It is chaos. The only rule is that there are no rules, and I don't care how long you've been playing football. If you are a quarterback playing this Vikings defense, you don't know what the heck's going to happen.
Yep.
So give me Minnesota and give me the Brian Flores chaos. Now, they lose Cam Bynum, and this Brian Flores defense, for those who don't know, is 3 safeties out there basically all the time, whereas you have a standard nickel that's a cornerback body shape. It's 3 safeties. It's like a 7-on-7 defense almost, but they trust their guys up front so much to win, even though they're always outnumbered because of the schemes that he can drop. And Cam Bynum was great at that, so they're going to have to replace him. They signed Jonathan Allen. They re-signed Byron Murphy Jr. They signed Javon Hargrave. Of course, they bring back Hitman Harry for 1 more year. AVG, Andrew Van Ginkel, what a year he had.
Guy's
23.5 sacks combined from Jonathan Allen, Javon Hargrave, just from Jonathan Grinard and AVG. 23.5 sacks. You got they just have these amoebas. This Josh Metellus. What position does he play?
Yeah.
I watch him every
football.
game. I can't tell exactly. Ivan Pace Jr., another one. What position does he play? He plays football. So they have guys. The only question mark here is probably cornerback. But the good thing about this defense is you don't have to cover for long. So whether it's the Jeff Okudah resurgence, it's Mekhi Blackman, Isaiah Rodgers probably gets bumped into nickel. there'll be some growing pains there, but the fact is it's Brian Flores and they don't have to do much other than cover for 1.5 seconds. So give me the Minnesota Vikings. I like it.
Yeah, you know what? I used to hate to have to prepare for a group like the Minnesota Vikings because of just their multiplicity, their ability to, as you so eloquently said, become an amoeba and play in, play out. You can get a different front, a different look, a different pressure package. You could be getting external, internal, a sick, twisted combination of both of those things. I would hate
Brian Flores is a sick man.
I'd hate to play the Minnesota Vikings.
It's what we say every Sunday. Brian Flores is a sick man with sick thoughts, and thank God he found football, because who knows what else he'd be doing with that madman brain of his.
Tell you what, offensive linemen hate him more than 2As, and I've heard the comments. Okay. And with the next pick and the last pick of our first segment here, I'm going to go with a team that I'm just in love with the team. Okay. I love not only the stadium that they play in, I love the fans that cheer for them every time they take the field. I love some of the stories about their players. And I love that we've got some drama this year with this team. I'm talking about the Buffalo Bills. Okay. I love the Buffalo Bills. And there's a lot of questions, obviously, about this group. They can't rush the passer. They struggle on the back end sometimes in coverage. Well, they address both of those things defensively this offseason, bringing in Hoyt and bringing in Maxwell Hairston in the draft. So you get a guy on the back end, you get a guy on the front end. Now, they have two players, two defensive linemen. They're going to miss 6 games because of PEDs. Yeah. Bosa, calf, already a deal. You bring in Joey Bosa, it's like, oh, amazing. By the way, I want to make a point about the Joey Bosa thing. Where do old people go when they get old if they have the funds? They go somewhere warm, right?
Florida, Arizona,
Arizona, Southern California if they were in the entertainment business. But I'll tell you what, Joey Bosa, he went north and he went east, and he went by a giant body of water that is cold. There's a waterfall that's like frozen half the year. He's a guy who has dealt with injury. When you're at that point in your career, you want to be somewhere warm, Arizona, Florida, somewhere. You go to Buffalo, you run the risk of having these soft tissue injuries. We saw Joey Bosa have one immediately upon arrival in Buffalo. But here's the thing. This is why I'm talking trash about Buffalo, but I'm setting up when is Buffalo in question, their success, the playoffs? Right. Not the first 6 games of the season.
No.
As a matter of fact, if I was Brandon Beane, I'd be like, all you guys should get on PEDs, miss the first 6 games of the season. We can all get we can all get fined, miss 6 games, and then come back and we can just give a Herculean effort to finish the season. I'm telling you, there's some science behind the pick of having the Buffalo Bills at number 6 here in our draft. They got guys who are literally proven to be on PEDs. Okay. And Joey Bosa, who's going to be fresh.
Kyle, I just have to ask, who's going to play you in the movie? Because when they do Moneyball Part 2, when you change how people construct an NFL team, you're going to be Brad Pitt. Jonah Hill's in there too, right? Said, hey, guys.
People already think that steroid use is ubiquitous in the NFL, which it's not, by the way. Like, right. I didn't take it. You don't take it. No. None of that stuff. No. But I'll tell you what, if they're already saying it, you may as well just be like, all right, like, we'll call your bluff. We're going to miss some games. But you know what? You know when the last time I watched baseball was?
What's that?
Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire. Very well.
The golden age?
I'm just saying. Give Josh Allen steroids. You will never turn your TV off.
I will say this about Buffalo. I love what last year was supposed to be a rebuild year, right? By Buffalo Bills standards. When you have Josh Allen, you're never rebuilding. You're always pushing for something. And but defensively, it blew me away, man. I mean, DeMar Hamlin and Taylor Rapp on the back end, everyone kind of rolled their eyes and said, let's see how this goes. They were incredible. They shut everyone up immediately. They were awesome. Now, they bring back Tre'Davious White to that cornerback room, probably more of a depth spot. Dane Jackson back there, Cam Lewis back there. But for the most part, I love how deep they are at corner. Are there a lot of cornerback 1s in there? No, but if you got 6 cornerback 2s, you don't need a cornerback 1. You're rotating guys. Guys are fresh, and that's going to be very important in that division, chasing those fast guys in Miami everywhere. I also love Matt Milano. Obviously, last year was an unfortunate one. He just couldn't really stay healthy. But as far as off-ball linebackers are considered, you're not going to find a more instinctive guy. I was hoping I could steal Buffalo during segment 2, but you beat me to it. Congratulations.